Okay, so on this one, it says a team of researchers is testing the effectiveness of a new HPV vaccine. They randomly divide subjects into two groups. Group 1 receives a placebo, and Group 2 receives the new HPV vaccine. Neither the patients or the doctors examining them know which group they were in. Which is the treatment group, which is the control group? Is this study blind, double blind, or neither? And which best describes this research, survey, or controlled? Okay, so basically it's a lot of questions on how these survey experimental kind of things go. Let's talk about it. And we're all going to have different things. By the way, look at your question compared to mine. It's going to be similar but different. They might switch group 1 and group 2. So look carefully. So let's talk about it. So this is learning about the words and what they all mean. So first off, which is the treatment group? So the treatment group is the group that gets the treatment. Group that gets the actual whatever it is, in this case, the vaccine, the actual HPV. So the group that gets the actual HPV vaccine. What's a placebo up here? What do they mean by that? Are you familiar with that?
Like a fake pill.
Yeah, fake.
It's a what's that?
It's a fake vaccine.
Yeah, it's a fake. You're right. A placebo is a fake. So yeah, they might give a fake vaccine. So they'll give you a shot in your arm, but it's really just water. It's not the real deal. Or if it's taking a pill, they'll just give you what they call a sugar pill. It just doesn't have any real drug in it. Why would they do that? Why would they give you a shot with nothing but water or a sugar pill? Why don't they just do nothing instead? Why the fakery? Trying to fake you out? Why are they doctors trying to fool you? What are they doing?
If I remember correctly, it's like the human mind thinking that since they receive the medication, they think they feel better already. So I may guess that to see if the human might think since I got the medicine, they'll feel more better and they'll be more, active.
Right. Yeah, well said. Yeah, we medical science has found in the last 50 years, maybe even longer, but a lot of evidence last 50 years, just the strong connection between our minds and our bodies, Evidence just keeps mounting. Our minds strongly affect our bodies. And so part of what they want to do, the FDA, when they test a new drug, is they want to make sure any positive results from the drug are not just mental. Right? They want to know that the drug is actually doing something physically to the body and it's not just mental, because mental is powerful and it's good, but there's no need to have a drug if it's just all going to be mental. So they want to figure out they want to separate the mental effects from the actual physical help that a drug or vaccine provides. How do they do that? Well, they'll give some people a fake, because that way those people will go away thinking they've actually got the drug in them, and their mind may kind of heal them a little bit. And that's great. But let's be clear, that wasn't the drug doing it. And that's what we're trying to figure out, right? When you're testing a new drug, you're trying to figure out, what does the drug actually do physically to our bodies to heal us? Does it actually heal us? If so, how much? And so we set up a test. And so we give one group a fake drug. And so their minds will do, but only their minds. Whatever happens to them is only because of their minds. And the other group gets the actual drug. So whatever happens to them, it's because of the drug and their minds. And so the difference is they really got the drug. So that's why they do that. And so the treatment group is the group that really gets, in other words, not the fake. So in my case, which group is the treatment group? Group 1 or 2?
Group 2.
Group 2.
Yeah. For mine, it's group 2. Now yours might be switched. So look carefully at your question. it randomizes where it puts everything, which is good. I like it. That way it helps you to focus in, because that's the way the test will be. I want you to be ready to go. So my group 2 is the treatment group. Yours might be group 1. Just take a look at who gets the real treatment. Mine was group 2. All right, next question is, which is the control group? Now, what is the control group? Well, the control group is the group that gets the placebo, the fake.
Wait, I was gonna ask this earlier. Do they always hand out placebos for every study? I thought it was like,
No, not all the time, but often. It's very commonly done, but not always. They don't have to. In medical things, they almost always do, because of just the really strong evidence between the mind and the body. So it is really, really common to give a placebo, a fake. So the control group is the group that gets the placebo. Why? Why do we call that control? Because that helps us control the experiment. That helps us know if it's just mental. You know, I've read about a I think kind of funny story about a study done a long time ago at a VA hospital in Houston, a Veterans Administration hospital in Houston. This is back in the 1990s, I think, a long time ago. Anyway, they did a study on knee surgery. It was actually knee surgery, and they had 3 groups. They wanted to find out, you know, knees are kind of a weird thing. You know what I mean? If your knee bothers, you get older and your knee bothers you, and you go in, you say, "Hey doc, my knee's bothering me," and you get it. Should I have a surgery? Should I not? Sometimes they just get better on their own. Sometimes they don't. So they wanted to figure out, you know, is this knee surgery really working? So what they did is they gave some people actual surgery, and they gave group 2 fake surgery. I'm not kidding. Isn't that crazy? And the people that agreed to this, they had to agree ahead of time. You had to sign a waiver. And so we're like, what is fake surgery? Well, they would actually cut them open. They would cut the knee open, and then they would just stitch it back up. Not stitch it back up. Without doing any surgery. It was fake surgery. They actually did that. And then after the experiment was over, they didn't tell the patients. They didn't tell them, hey, you didn't get real surgery, because they wanted to see how much of the knee improvement was mental. And so then they waited 6 months. You know, they eventually told them way down the line, but they waited 6 months just to see how the patients would do after the surgery. And both groups, here's the funny part. Here's why I think it's a funny experiment. Both groups said their knees were better. And not only that, it was especially the group that especially felt they did better, especially the fake group. So in other words, the fake group actually reported the best improvement. And you know what that means? It was all just mental. The actual surgery in no way did anybody any better than the fake surgery. And so that helped them learn that at least that type of knee surgery on those type of people wasn't really doing anything. Any improvements were simply mental, because the fake group said they improved the most. I thought that was a funny study, and it really shows how powerful our minds are. And that's great. That's great. Our minds help us. But if it's all mental, then let's don't go have a surgery, right? At least that. I mean, I'm not saying all knee surgeries don't matter, not at all. I'm sure there's all kinds. My wife had knee surgery, and it was wonderful. So I'm just saying certain types of surgery in certain kind of situations may not actually do anything, and that's what they concluded in this specific situation anyway. That it was better just to let the people heal on their own and not do the surgery. And they proved it by doing this experiment. The fake surgery people actually improved the most. So the control group is important. It's the group that gets the fake, because that helps you know if it's all just mental. Because if the control group does better than the other group, like what happened in the fake surgery in the Houston VA hospital in the 90s, then you know it's all just mental. The drug isn't doing anything. The surgery is not doing anything. If the fake group is doing the best, it's all just mental, folks. That's how you know. Whereas that gives you control over the experiment to make sure you're really learning what's happening. All right, let's move on. Next part of the question. Is this study blind, double blind, or neither? Blind, double blind, or neither? Let me move this out of the way so I can.
Double blind.
Yeah, double
Yeah,
blind.
mine is. Yours may or may not be. Let me show you how you know. Yeah, it's basically talking about there's 3 levels. So blind is when the patients do not know whether they got the real drug or treatment or surgery or whatever, or the fake, the placebo. That's blind, if the patients don't know. Next, double blind is when the patients, well, that should not have been an apostrophe S. the patients and the doctors, that's why we call it double. The patients and the doctors do not know who got the real and who got the fake. Are you with me? That's called double blind. Now hold on a second. You might wonder, a good question. I'd be wondering, like, what in the world? Why would the doctors not know? That just seems nuts. Well, a board of administrators, a board of admin people are the only who know. So somebody's got to know, of course. There's like a board of administrators that, and they would know. Why in the world would you ever not have the doctors know? Well, it's because some things that you try to treat are kind of a close call. The most famous case of this was the polio vaccine. Back when they, back in the, I think it was the 1920s, the polio vaccine. Polio used to be a big problem in the United States, well, in the whole world. And you know, polio was really serious. Kids would get polio when they're young, and it would paralyze them. It would twist their spines and paralyze them, sometimes kill them. It was serious business. Polio was terrible, but it was pretty much wiped out in the 1920s by the Salk vaccine. This Dr. Salk, he's the one that came out with it. And he had to, he took the vaccine himself and had his own children take it in order to encourage the rest of the nation that it was safe. Anyway, but they did a gigantic study back then on the polio Salk vaccine. Before they gave it to the nation, they did a huge study to see if it was really going to work. And it was a double blind study. Why? They didn't let the doctors know which children received the vaccine and which children did not. Why? Because it was the job of the doctors, like a month later, to determine if a child was developing polio or not. And it's not easy to tell. It's kind of a judgment call. You know, you try to, you look at certain rashes and you know, it's a judgment call. So if the doctors had in their minds, if they already knew, oh, this is a person who got the vaccine, I don't think, no, they're not developing polio, or this is a person who didn't get the vaccine. So that would mess up the integrity of the study. And so they made the doctors not know. So as the doctors were looking at patients, they didn't know which ones received the vaccine, which ones didn't, which ones just got the fake. And so they were just simply able to use their professional judgment as to whether the child was developing polio or not. So only administrators over the whole project knew which children actually received the real vaccine and which ones got the fake. So that's double blind. Sometimes that's necessary. Sometimes it's not. Some experiments, you know, it doesn't matter. It's not a judgment call, and you might as well just let the doctors know. So it sort of depends. Now there's a third case. There's a neither. So neither, of course, means neither. So neither blind Everybody knows. Patients and doctors know. Everybody knows. Nobody's blind. Okay, so in my situation, it says up here, neither the patients or the doctors examining them know which group they were in. So mine's a double blind, but yours may be single blind or neither. It depends what it says up here. So if it says everybody knows which group they're in, that would be neither. It's neither blind nor double blind. If it says only the patients don't know, then that would be blind. Is that making sense? And then the final question, which is this, a survey or a controlled experiment? Well, this is for sure a controlled experiment, right? We are doing something to these people. We're experimenting on them. We're breaking them into two groups. Some are getting a fake, some are getting the actual vaccine. We randomly broke them into those two groups. And so that's for sure. And we call it a controlled experiment because we have a control group, a group that gets a fake, which helps us control the experiment and weed out the mental component to get down to the actual physical vaccine and what it is or is not actually doing. So there we go.